in this community. I grew up here. My family has been here some 80-something years. And so, anyway, as you can imagine, this community means a lot to me. My mom still lives here. And so, anyway, I left to go to nursing school. And I came back, and I looked around. And I was like, geez Louise, what has happened to our community? So anyway, I guess back a couple of years ago, there's a neighborhood that was planned to go in beside the house that I live in. And very dangerous road. It's at the intersection of West Emory, Carpenter Road, and Harrell Road. If none of you all have been fortunate enough to drive through there, I invite you to, but I also caution you to. It is a horrendous intersection. We're supposed to be getting that fixed. It's been there, I don't know how long, way before me. But anyway, how many?
3 years.
3 years. No, the intersection itself has been there 100 years or something. I've been on that, Mr. Spears. So anyway, I have met Josh several times, and he and I kind of had some disagreements at the Knox County Commission meetings. Mr. Jay is back here. He is in the Knox County Commission right now, and he is running for that. Courtney, they told me that Courtney was here. I don't know you, Courtney, and I apologize, but I will get to know you before it's over. Yes, sir.
Let me ask a real quick question. I'm sorry, I must have missed it, but who are you?
Oh, I didn't tell you my name. I'm just here, Mike, in the place. No, my name is Julie McBee, and my last name is Fritz. My husband's family, if you don't know this, anybody remember Thelma Hickey? Thelma Garrison Hickey? You know Garrison Road? That's my husband's grandmother's family that owned the farm, named it, and all of that. Mamaw Hickey, as I'm called, was instrumental in doing all the history for this community for those who live in Karns. She has since passed, which was hard for the rest of her family. But anyway, she is, and her family are the first settlers to this community. And so, my husband is very invested in it. He's on a public speaker, so I didn't get him to go. But anyway, I've kind of taken the lead with our community. And so, having said that, I just want our community to be nice. I want it to be beautiful. I want preservation in our community. And I want people to be able to live in this community in peace and harmony. And I think maybe that's all we want here. So anyway, I invited Josh. He's with SmithBilt. He is Rocky's nephew. And that has been a family business since 1950 something. His grandfather started the construction company. So he and I are going to work together and try to figure out a way to do this. So anyway, I will turn it over to him so he can give you a little background about him and the business and that kind of stuff. I do have a microphone back here. I wanted people to, if they wanted to, bring questions. This affects us all. It affects everybody in Knox County. So it's not just a Karns thing and a Powell thing. It is the entire county. Y'all been on our roads, you all know what it affects. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Josh. Thank you all again so much. You can look at my post on I Love Karns anytime. I don't mind at all. And I strive to put everything on there honestly. Okay? I don't try to mislead anybody or put false information out there. Okay? So anyway, it's nice to meet you all. For those that I know, it's nice to see you all. So here's Mr. Sanderson.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm obviously not the most wanted person in the room, I get it. I get it. I'm president of the cookie cutters, I'm president of the cracker stackers, that was a good one, by the way, also. But again, we're third generation SmithBilt homes. We're here tonight to present this, obviously, large development on West End Road. I know there is a lot of concerns, and we're not forward to these meetings. We actually do these meetings a lot on all these big developments. But what I want to leave here tonight is being truthful and transparent with you. If I do not have the answer, I'm going to tell you, I do not know the answer. I will have to get the answer. But tonight, we are a family business. We're in Karns. We've been in Karns. We are a part of you all as much as sometimes you don't feel like we are. I want y'all to know that it's not falling on deaf ears, the concerns that y'all have. We get it. We trust me. Half the family lives in Karns. We're in the traffic, we're in the schools, we're in everything. So don't think we're just in here and we got our deep pockets trying to just bully y'all into development. I don't think we don't read the Facebook, don't think we don't read all, don't think people don't call me. That's the reality of it. But Julie, I don't know what kind of format you want to have, but I'm sure everyone here obviously has seen the plan. And the plan is a mixed use. It is not our first mixed use development. It's not our largest development. It's not breaking any barriers for us. It's nothing new, but it is new for the Karns area. It is a shocking number of 1,100. It's a shocking number of 1,100 front doors. That is 100. I get how shocking that is. One thing before we get into Q&A, before we go anywhere, I want you all to understand that 1,100 homes are not coming overnight. It will be 80 homes a year. That's as fast as we can build them. That's 6 a month. So that's how much we're building right now in Karns. That's how much we built since 2016 in Karns. It's 6 a year. So just before we get into this is a huge development. I get it. I know it's a huge development.
Just lost you.
Is it done? We over?
You're finished. That's all. That's all you get to tell us. Hey, I am not technical. I'll just tell you that. At all. You good?
Yep, I think it is. Our backbone of our business is buying land. It's no secret. We buy land 5-10 years in advance, knowing that we're building homes, not only in the Karns community, the Powell community, the Halls community. I know we're not the most liked, and I know people in this room, we're mainly opposition, and I know I can talk all day, all night about the housing crisis. And I know that housing crisis just came on. I know that it will cycle back around. I know there's a recession coming. We know this. We planned for this. We haven't been in business since the 50s and not planned for this. So for the first time, we are showing our picture of what we want the development to look like to the Karns and Powell community before we break ground on it. This is honestly the first time we've ever done this. Obviously, the normal traditional process is to buy the land, go zone it, get your zoning, 3 units an acre, 4 units an acre, 5 units an acre, design it, stormwater, utilities, roadways, right-of-ways, everything, and then actually present an engineered black and white drawing to Knox County. They critique it, they redline it, tell us what changes we need to make, and then we make the changes. This is the first time we said, all right, this is massive enough, we need some community input. Knox County has a process called plan development, where we're not zoning the process, we're not zoning the land, what we're doing is presenting our plan, and our leaders are Okay, I mean, we get it. That's what the whole capitalism, that's what whole democracy is. You don't want it, we get it. We don't want to go somewhere we're not wanted. We do want the land, we do have contingency plans for the land, obviously. But, again, this is the picture. Again, I want to stress that it's not coming overnight. It's going to be 80 homes a year, if that. I know recession's coming, so it might not even be that. We're also talking 2024 before the first house is built. So we got 2 years in advance to plan for it, make improvements to it, make some estimating for it, start designing parks, start designing other amenities that we can move. So what I want to stress is this is a community that we have home buyers right now. I know they're not in this room because I look around and see it. But you have first-time home buyers. You have people wanting to stay here in Karns, live in Karns. You have people that want to move next to their grandparents. You have people that want to come back and live here. I promise you, it's hard to find. Our waiting list for our homes right now are thousands long. You can't get a house right now. Even if we had all these today, that still wouldn't meet the demand of today. We have traffic that we gotta overcome. We got the sheer size of this development that we have to overcome. But it will be a process. It won't be overnight. It'll be over 10 years that we expect to build this out. I don't know how bad this next recession's gonna be, but 10 years is what we're expecting. Again, I want to open up to Q&A because that's what this is all about. What I'd like to leave here tonight is, again, I might not have the answer. I'm going to tell you if I don't have the answer. And there's a board back here that I want to write down the concerns, and we will address every single one of them. And again, to keep everything going, we're not repetitive on everything. I know traffic's going to come up, schools are going to come up, so we obviously tackle those when we get there. But I do want to leave here with knowing what your all's demands are. And not happening, I get you don't want it. I get it. It's just let's be realistic. If it wasn't us, and I know this is such an unfair argument. If it wasn't us, it'd be someone else, and I promise you it would be. And the only benefit I have to tell you is that we are the heartbeat, or we have a heartbeat in Karns. That we are here. We give back to the community, whether we publicize it or not. So it's not DR Horton, it's not some other out-of-town buyer or builder coming into this town. So we care, we're here. I promise you, these other big builders would not be here if they don't care. They cram it down your throat, and they build them, and they pack up and leave and go to the next town. So we're here. We care. Obviously we care. So I do want to keep the Q&A cordial. I want to keep it open. I want to keep it honest. I want to keep it truthful and transparent. But also, guys, we build these houses and we sell these to individuals. These individuals scrape every penny together to come to our communities and buy their house. So please do not talk ill about their home. They literally pledge 30 years of their income of their life to us. We take our customers very serious. So let's not start talking about SmithBilt as a product, because these are people's homes. So, Joel, if it's okay with you, let's open it up for Q&A.
I need a microphone because I want everybody to A, hear the question, and B, hear the answer. So whoever has a question, one at a time, because I can't do that fast. I will bring the microphone to you, and you can ask your question.
You said you have done mixed-use developments before. Is this your first project doing a planned development project or process?
I want to turn that up just a little bit.
I can't hold a whole lot closer without touching it.
Yeah.
I'll jack it up for you.
Yeah. Is this, you said you've done mixed-use development before. Have you done planned
No, so this is the first one in Knox County since the code has been written that a single family, where home builders come through. The new Smoky Stadium used this plan process as a mixed use or as a more of a commercial plan. This is the first time a developer or a single family developer has come through.
Okay, I have kind of a part two, I hope I'm
Yeah.
allowed to ask. So how did you decide what amenities to put in there? I mean, it doesn't look to me like it's very different and interesting from what we already have in Karns and Turnout.
Great question. So the park, the 40-acre park, is a space filler. So our landscape architect drew some ball fields, drew some recreation fields, the dog park, the playground as a filler. We will get with constituents, we will get with Knox County, we will get with Parks and Rec, we will get with Legacy Parks, and you all decide what needs to go in that park. That is literally a space filler. If it doesn't need to be ball fields, it doesn't need to be ball fields. If y'all want gardens or what, it doesn't matter. That's blank slate.
Can I ask what the process is for that? How do we make sure we don't miss the boat on?
Yeah, I think Legacy's already reached out to us with Carol Evans. The goal in a perfect world is going to donate the land to Legacy. Legacy will start the process of planning it, and then they will turn it over to Knox County when it's done. That's, again, I've not done one with Legacy before, but that's what I've seen through the process.
Is that in the floodplain? Is that park you're talking about in the floodplain?
Yes, some of it is. Half of it is.
Mr. Stooksbury, what was your question? I guess we didn't hear
It's
about
in the
that.
floodplain.
He asked if some of the park was in the floodplain. Yes, and yes, so 27 acres is in the flood, is a no-fill line, meaning you can grade, you can make improvements, but you can't bring additional dirt in to affect the floodplain. So 27 acres is in the flood, that total park is 48 acres. That's not including the amphitheater, which is an additional 4 or 5 acres. Again, amphitheaters are filler, that's something that we thought might be good. If Knox County or the community doesn't think it's something good, then
My name is Bedford Chapman. I live at 7411 Bridgefield Drive. You're going to be directly behind me. Your apartments are going to be directly behind me. From all the development that started out in that area, my yard is continually being flooded over and over and over, as are other people in our neighborhood. Now, my question is, since all that land that would originally soak up the water is being developed, I know you will have retention, detention ponds, whatever you want to have. Water's still coming in my backyard. And I've already, my building that I've got back there, I'm sure I'm gonna have to move it. Some of our neighbors are in flood zones and now their houses are actually being flooded. So I have two questions. One is, what are you gonna do? And what will Knox County do for any elected officials that are here to save, give me some safety in that? And also, now you said 80 homes a year, but if you build the apartments, it's gonna be a whole lot more than 80 at one time. And I moved to Powell. I know that the land's been there for years, and I know there's a chance of development. I moved to Powell not to have an apartment building in my backyard. 15 years ago, I moved out of Knoxville, and we had to fight people in Knoxville, and we lose in the end. You got a lot more money, you got a lot more people that you can present this. I know your product, I'm a realtor, and I don't have a problem with your product. It suits people's needs. 1,100, 4,000 people, I think is a low number that's coming in there. And two, if you pull out the land's rezoned, the other 55 and over part, what if that's apartments too at one time? Because these plans change.
So I guess three things to address there. One, the stormwater. My grandfather taught us a long time ago, number one, when you look at something, 90% of your problems is water. If you take care of water, you'll take care of 90% of your problems. And instead of showing you our resume, Knox County's here to kind of attest to our resume. When we buy these farms, this is the number one rule, take care of the water. So right now you're flooding, I won't guarantee that when we're done with our development, you won't be flooding anymore. Water's coming on you now. We have to retain the water. We cannot put water off on someone else. That's the number one rule. We'll end up in the courthouse if we put water on where it's not supposed to go. So we have to develop it based on engineering, based on all the diagrams, detention ponds, that we have to build, maintain, make sure they meet code, make sure they not only meet Knox County code, but TDEC code. There's more government officials inspecting our ponds than there are. So it's stormwater. We address stormwater. It's the first thing we do when we buy a piece of land. Sometimes we back out of property because we can't control the stormwater. So that's number one. Two, you said 80 homes a year, according to repeating me. Absolutely. So when the apartments go in, obviously that's going to be more. The apartments are a complex of the property, or a portion of the property to get the density up. To make the commercial work, to justify spending the money on some of these improvements that we'll have to do, we will need the density. It's still under 4 units an acre, and I know that's hard to even believe, but it's still under 4 units an acre. So the apartments is an aspect of it to get the density up. If we were just doing single family, obviously we couldn't put that many single families in that section. And if we're giving up the apartments and density, we're giving up additional amenities or additional improvements that we're gonna make. So it's a kind of give and take. Obviously, you're gonna say you're not getting anything because you're getting more apartments. But to make any of these improvements, if we go and zone the land 5 units an acre, that would be more units than we're getting on there now. So the apartments is just another aspect to make the commercial, like North Shore Town Center, that thing would be dead in the water if it didn't have the apartments to support the restaurants and all the shopping and everything there. Again, I know that's North Shore Town Center, and you're gonna say you don't want North Shore Town Center out here. Like I'm answering my questions. So I think we don't hear this number. There's one thing you said, what's the third thing you said, sir? You said apartments, stormwater.
I guarantee you have that you're not gonna change
Oh,
your
good.
development and add more apartments.
Great question. So, as we present this plan, and we go in front of, Planning Commission. Planning Commission votes on this plan. No changes. If they vote and approve it, we go in front of the county commission. If they vote and approve this plan, then it's approved as is. Meaning there's very limited variation that we can do from this. Meaning we can't swap apartments for the 55 and older. We can't. I know how concepts change. I know how zoning, you can promise one thing, trust me, we see it all the time. There's no bait and switch here. This is the picture. It's going to get voted on. Knox County's going to hold us to this picture, or it's not going to happen. Or we're going to have to go back in front of Knox County to get a variance or approval to alter or get variance for this. And I know how that works. But all three great questions.
All right, next question.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Harvin, and I own a farm it's a mini farm, and it's at the end of Harvest Creek Lane in a subdivision. You say the flood waters, like the gentleman was talking about. Okay, there was a subdivision put in right next door to some of our property, all right? A new subdivision. Our place floods. We're in the floodplain where I live is. Our brothers have their homes in the next property over, and it doesn't flood. Part of it does, but not as much as mine does. I knew it was a floodplain when I bought it, okay? When they started building a new subdivision, they came in, they graded forever. This was SmithBilt, okay? They came in, they graded forever. Took them forever to grade. You say that they put in retention ponds and things like that to help the water. Well, okay, where this retention pond is on that subdivision is at the very back of that subdivision, and they filled in to make the retention pond. Okay, here's my question. Water comes in, it doesn't run to the retention pond, it runs into Beaver Creek and then floods out of Beaver Creek up into the properties, all right? So these retention ponds that you're filling in to hold the water does nothing to the floodplain of the people that are in the floodplains, and it fills up. I know, because we've had more flooding. This year we've been lucky because there's not been as much rain, but the 100-year flood line we're getting it twice a year, if not 3 times a year now. And I know, I've been there 20 years, or longer actually, in the area. And so you're talking about that, oh, we're gonna take care of that. You don't. It just makes it worse. I mean, look how much floodwater area that floods on that development that you're wanting to do. Okay, you're gonna donate it to the park. Do you realize you're donating the floodland to the park? I mean, to the county? So they're gonna be the ones that have to take care of it where it floods. Yeah, they're gonna be happy with that, maybe. I don't know. But you're also blocking where a lot of that water comes in there and stays. And if you fill in and put retention ponds, that's just gonna flood it on down to my wetland, which I love. You know? I mean, it's a beautiful place. We have heron, we have geese, we have raccoons, we have ducks, we have everything that comes in there and stay. Even bald eagles have come through and flew over and stuff and gone in and got fish because we live right there off Knox Spring. And you can talk about the water and controlling it, but it's just the developments are making it worse. I'm sorry. I know. I live right there on it.
Don't apologize.
So what do you all plan on doing? I mean, if you're going to put in retention ponds and stuff in that big development, you're blocking that much more.
Okay, so, if you're in the floodplain now, you already in the floodplain. So we do not change any water in the creek. Meaning if it floods, it flows through, so our retention and detention ponds are meant to capture any pond or any water that comes, not from the river, but any from runoff, roofs, gutters, roadways, anything that we've done and retain that water, but it does not touch or alter the Beaver Creek water. Again, I'm thinking I'm just going to stormwater here, but you can't go down there and alter the floodplain to put more water on you. That's why I said the fill line. So our detention ponds have nothing to do with Beaver Creek's water and the 100-year flood or the 500-year flood. It has everything to do with all the water from our 11 acres, 10 acres, or 15 acres that we have to detain. So if you're in the floodplain now, you're always in the floodplain.
Exactly, and I know that. I bought it knowing that, okay? But the development that was put in beside us, that flood area was built up. High walls. It's higher than where the property is for our property. And so if you go back to the creek and where that was floodplain in a flood area, it's got banks up to here with a retention pond in there. So you're telling me that what area they had there as a floodplain, you blocked it so that just the subdivision water is going there, so that water that flows from the creek that floods out, it can go up into the retention pond that you put there where there was wetland and where water would go when it flooded. So I mean, you're creating more often by doing that. I mean, you're not helping that floodplain at all. But anyway, I've got other questions about school, but I'll pass it, and then when we get to the schools, we'll get there. All right.
Ma'am?
Hold up, there was something there. I may not have seen you, so just 1 second. Let me take my portable speaker. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Keith Gibby. Wouldn't mind holding that poster up again. Would you point, I'm not sure everybody is all that familiar with it. Would you point out Emory Road? Okay, and it goes across. Okay, and so, bulk of that is going to be the west of Emory Road. What's down the north, okay. Well, you talk about 1,000 doors. I'm hearing 1,000 or more cars and school buses. And I'd like to know what the plan is for getting that curriculum or vehicles on and off Emory Road. We can't do the impossible.
No, the study comes back, so y'all know this was going to be my answer. We hired engineers. The engineers they're doing the traffic study. You see the wires across the road right now. hours.
24 hours, doesn't get it when school is out of session, and that's what we think.
Oh, yeah.
They were there full
They
24
were
hours.
there the second week after vacation. I mean,
And when
school was
was
out
out
of
of
session,
everybody-
people were on vacation.
Hold up, we have to be respectful of the person who's asking the question and the answer, okay? So just, if you have a question, you wanna make a comment about the question, I will get to you. But you just need to wait for the answer.
Well, I am an engineer. I'm a civil engineer, but I can communicate with, I'd still like to know what your rough thoughts are for getting 1,000 to 1,500 cars, school buses in and out of that narrow strip of Emory Road. Delivery trucks.
Without a doubt, especially this section of West Emory will have to be wide. And it will have to be. So we are prepared to do whatever the engineers tell us that it needs to do to make sure your engineer can speak to this, so that the numbers do not meet a failure. So they take calculations right now. It's an A, B, C, D, E, and F. Is there an F? Is there an E? That's how they do the study.
I think we can all see that the section of Emory Road is very short. I don't see many roads hitting it, and with Emory Road being very short in there, I don't know how you're gonna get that. You can widen Emory Road all you want. How are you gonna get that sheer number of vehicles and buses and delivery vehicles in and out of there?
So again, we're most likely going to put a red line in. So there'll be, most likely is what the traffic studies will say, that you have to not only do turn lanes, left, right, acceleration lanes, deceleration lanes, but you're also going to have to do a red light.
Well, I've had my time, but in all due respect, I think that's a shortfall of the plan.
Understood.
All right, who was over here? This gentleman right here, here's, this man over here. Hold on.
Got the microphone, can y'all hear me?
Yes, this lady over here raised her hand, so hold up just a second, as you did too, so,
Okay.
hold up. Not that I'm discriminating.
I have my concerns are, my daughter goes to Karns Elementary, she went to Karns, she's in middle school right now, okay? Karns is at the max, all of these schools are at the max, where are you gonna put these kids? And also, the roads, potholes everywhere already, and then you're wanting to put all these people on roads that even can't handle what we've got now.
So the school, is anyone here from the school board? I know we brought any teachers here or anything?
I work at Montana Schools.
She works.
Do you have that actual numbers of cars, capacity versus enrollment?
That's what I was going to talk about, if I can find where I put my paper.
She said she does.
The high school probably is because we're building a new one between, no, elementary school. Apologize for
The
that.
student-teacher ratio, so they're zoned for Karns Middle and Karns Elementary. No, they're zoned for Powell Middle and Powell Elementary, but then they'll go to Karns High, is how it is. Karns High students are now at a 17-to-1 teacher-student ratio. And with, the state recommends it to be the high at 15-to-1 ratio. Okay, so you're talking about that many more kids to put into the high schools. If you go to Powell Middle School and elementary school, the elementary school is 16-to-1 ratio, which is a little closer, but it's still over the max. And then, let me see, the middle school is 19-to-1. So you're talking a big increase in some of the middle schools for Powell. So, I mean,
Julie, have you reached out to the school board at all, get the answers or numbers from this?
No, that's one meeting I don't attend yet. Yet.
Okay, so we just gotta get the numbers from Karns, the actual enrollment versus.
and Powell.
And how, absolutely.
Because you got the Powell Middle and Powell Elementary. And then they go to Karns High. I mean, I've got the total number of students they had last year.
Yeah, is that what?
Yeah.
we ready for the next
So
question?
again, on the school board, I think that's she's Karns and,
Howell.
who's Powell, who's the lady Powell?
Patty Bounds.
Yes, talk to both of them. I encourage y'all to call up and ask them what their role are and the capacities.
I've got that info too. But, like I said, it's already over their max, so.
All right, next question. Now it's ready. Stop.
I'm Richard Watkins, and have you talked to any of the landowners that's beside you? Because I own about 2,000 foot borderline with you all. And I haven't heard a word from anybody because I'm gonna get most of your water. And I also own on the other side of Washington Heights, where the pond is. And nobody has talked to me anything about any of the water, and I'm gonna get all the water. So you're probably gonna flood me out, because I have about 27 acres to the south side, to the west side.
Again, so we are some of the best at controlling water. I'm not coming here to tell you, that's all we care about, is controlling water. If we put more water on you, you're gonna file suit in Knox County, and you're gonna sue us. And we're gonna sue, because we don't wanna put water on. We have to contain that water, 100%.
One of your friends mows that property now, so he knows it stays dry. And you know what I'm talking about, I guess, man. So, it stays dry enough to mow, but when this development goes in, if it turns into a swampland, you just run me. But we also have some woods back there that holds a lot of water and holds a lot of mosquitoes. So that's gonna be a big factor for people's West Nile Valley and stuff. But anyhow, how about the traffic lights? Did you say there's gonna be traffic lights? Cause I can't get out of my driveway half the time.
100%, absolutely. Back on the traffic, I know we've had a traffic study coming, he's gonna tell us what we have to do. We are anticipating widening and traffic lights. The studies will have to take into effect the new traffic light that's going into Harold, they'll take into all the other infrastructure improvements going down to the bridge. They'll take in the turn lanes at, Orchard, that we're putting there now. All this is engineering, it's not opinionated, it's not, I know how emotional this is, I know how quick opinions get involved, I promise you it is factual. We've got to rely on the engineers, the staff to come up with the actual facts of this. I get what I want, and I get that the opinions and the emotion are raw, I get it. But we gotta rely on facts, that's the only thing we can rely on.
One other question. Why do you all not build larger driveways? Because you have no parking in these homes. And I know you're gonna say the value of the land, but you're the one that dictates the price of the land, you and Horton and 4 others. So give the people a driveway so they can park in their driveways, because they're parking on the street, and you know that. That's why buses don't go through the subdivisions. That's why the post office don't go through the subdivisions. And I know you're not gonna do that, but that's my pet peeve. You do not build anybody with a driveway, and you should.
So,
thank you.
Just on this particular development, with the rear entry, so the driveway will be in the back, we will make the asphalt large enough to have an actual car lane for parking. And then you have the 2 lane with the boulevard, whichever one. So we have a development down in Oak Ridge called the Preserve. It has on-street parking where people on the front porch pull up and it's out of the way. So I encourage all of y'all to go down there and see kind of the product that we're building. So yes, it's one of our pet peeves. You wouldn't believe how many side view mirrors we have in place. But we get it too.
All right, next question.
I'm Carolyn Cummins, and I live on Blacksburg Road. I'd first like to start at some of the subdivisions. Creekside, okay, from 1.5 miles from Creekside is Paradise Hill condos, which is going to be 0.2. Creek Valley is 0.2 miles. Emery Orchard, which is across from Lesbel Cemetery, is 2.1 miles up the road. BellTown is 2 miles planned up through there. I live on Blacks Ferry. I sent videos in to other people that when your retaining pond went across the road on Blacks Ferry Road, you finally had some people out there cleaning it up after it was called in. They were down there in the creek with buckets and everything else trying to clean it off. Okay, at the beginning of Blacks Ferry, which is 2 The second house, there is a driveway, which you have a huge mound of dirt that is up there. The gravel comes out on Blacksberry, mud comes out on also Emory Road. Down there, it was ponding up. We're talking about where the guardrail is in Blacksberry. We live on a blind curve. Okay? Nobody ever has come out there and cleaned that up. The county called, after we were called the county, they came out and scraped some of that. I've even seen some of SmithBilt, some of their equipment over down in where it is Hallsville Powell water area, down there off where that guardrail is. It's like you're not taking care of, it's just homes and houses and stacking them up like dominoes. You can almost reach out your window and touch the other house. Okay, that's far as like making the heat, it's not good for the environment. Okay, you were talking about 2 cars probably for each house. Not counting all these children that's gonna have to go to all these schools, which some of them's not been built. We don't have the capacity. We have to go up some of these roads where we have to pull over into driveways to let cars come by us and school buses come by. I mean, it is unreal. And the part that you're going to give or let the county is in the flood zone. I've been watching this stuff for quite a while that's been going on here with some of this SmithBilt stuff. I mean, I'm not opposed to you all building houses. But I mean, all this acreage, could you not at least have a half an acre to a home? Or an acre? Just don't stack them up like dominoes. I mean, you're all over the county. It's not just in Karns that you're doing this. But how many acres do you live on? How would you like somebody asked you that quick? How many, Mr. Smith, how many does he live on? I bet he can't reach out his house and touch the next one.
No, we cannot.
Sir, I'm sure this is public knowledge. We all know that. I know that.
I don't know, but you also don't,
Yeah, I do understand.
the third generation, we live in our houses. We can't touch. There are 2 feet separation. We live in our communities.
I do too, sir.
You live in one of ours?
No, I don't live in one of those.
Anyway.
You asked for that.
And I completely cut that. Like Sarah, you'll see silt fence and us cleaning up tomorrow.
You know the house I'm talking
I
about?
know the dirt pile you're talking about. So she's saying, you see us with our machines down there. We do make mistakes. We do have rain events that are 500-year flood rain events that no one can design a pond or anything. I know all of our houses not flooded, but yards were piling up with water with some of these rain events we've had. We make mistakes. I'm not going to twist your words into it, but you saw us down there fixing them.
That one time, not the part where it runs out on the state highway, which is Emory Road. Y'all have not been down there at all and done anything, sir. I'm there every day, 2 or 3 times a day. No.
Say tomorrow.
That's good. And thank you.
All right, I'm working on questions, just be patient, okay?
My name's Philip Schumann, I live on Ball Road. I have a question about, you talked about infrastructure and thinking about putting in new traffic and consulting with engineers. And then when it came time to talk about schools and capacity for schools, you said you'd reach out to some board members. And I guess my question is, why are those treated differently? If the county requires you to make sure that the infrastructure is in place for a development of this size, it seems to me it's not on individual board members to show up to a meeting, that should be part of your process. But as you're planning communities, you're thinking 5 years, 10 years down the road about what kind of infrastructure in terms of education you'll need. And so I just wonder how this has worked in past developments, because I think in the past what we've seen is some of the high capacity schools that we're seeing are a result of failure in that regard. So I just wondered if you could speak to that.
So just like the traffic said, we hired engineers, so I did reach out to the county to give me actual numbers. I don't have those numbers. I know there's some in past, like we did Copeland Heights and Clemens and Copeland, where we met with Ricky Elementary, Powell High, they came with a enrollment number versus capacity number, meaning here's the maximum critical with capacity for this area. And then they tell you what what the enrollment number, and there's a ratio there. I'm waiting on those numbers. As soon as we get those numbers, just like the traffic impacts, they will have to address it.
There's 1442 in Karns, but.
And what's capacity?
1442.
No, that's enrollment, what's maximum? When does it say?
Oh, they're within 31.
Within 31 students. And that's,
Karns is, they've got it listed as, they have 31 operating capacity.
where did you find this?
It's online, Josh.
We can't hear the comments or the questions in the back, so.
It's called the impacts of land development on school.
Did you write that?
But, I mean, that would be a good
Yeah,
source
so,
for you guys.
so I'd like to go straight to the source. And when it comes to Knox County Stormwater, we go straight to Knox County Stormwater. When it comes to Knox County Education and the board and Karns, I go straight to Knox County Board of Education. And we've reached out to them to get numbers.
I think I'm Gerald Johnson, I'm a resident of Washington Heights, be a future neighbor here, I suspect.
Absolutely.
Earlier when we started as administrators, we were told that there's a couple of commissioners in here, planning commissioners. And you are, sir?
County commissioners, not planning.
County, both of you are county commissioners?
We are.
Okay, thanks, thank you.
That's different. Planning commission.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir, I understand that. And then, are there any other representatives of SmithBilt or the Smith family here with us tonight?
Yes, there are.
Would they introduce themselves, please?
Yeah, my cousin Reed Smith's in the back. There's a little Sean. One of our business partners, Jim Hill's back there with us. He lives in Barrington. And that's all the rest of it. Oh, and some of my Sanderson families here. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I would start off with, my first question. When I moved into the neighborhood, there was the urban legend that the land had been bound by the will of the patriarch of the Bell family for 99 years. I assume that any restriction allowing the conversion of this land to something other than agriculture, that's all passed?
There's never been any restriction on that.
There was none.
Zero.
He just bound it up and said the family couldn't sell it for X number of years?
Never said that either.
Never existed.
Never
Urban legend.
We have some title report all the way back to the 1800s.
So the only restrictions are those listed in the covenant and the deed when Top Hat and Primos purchased the land.
In the title report, correct.
I'm sorry.
In the title, in the call restrictions, is a title report to show the chain of title. So no restrictions are on the property.
So not building the first house till 2024 is to allow for further planning or?
Oh, that's just sheer, if we start grading it today, by the time you've got infrastructure in place.
As soon as the county approves. So, but you're still planning on waiting until 2024?
I think they will.
Okay, so 2024 is really not a date.
No, it's just, that's just in a realistic, again, what we're trying to, in realistic, if we started today with development, the supply chain, everything, we could not have a house built until 2024.
So the first grader will bulldoze land the day after the county commission approves the.
No. After the county commission, then we have to go through all engineering. The county commission, look at this, the plans that we submit to Knox County for their engineers to go through will take months to plan.
So a lot of discussion about stormwater, and that drawing that you have there fills in the pond at Depression 17, it fills in Depression 19 and Depression 21, which are huge natural basins for stormwater. You're gonna build additional basins in there to catch that, I assume. But as part of the planning process, does the state go through and reevaluate blue line streams and identify those 3 ponds that you're about to fill in?
Yes, we have to do core drill on every single pond or depression. The state, we can't go in and fill in anything we want to. The state has to approve us. We have to submit, we have to go through the engineering plans. We send it off to Nashville. I guess we send it off to Knoxville, Knox County first. Simultaneously, Nashville's reviewing it, and TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environmental Conservation, reviews it, and tells us if we can or cannot.
Because there's 3 ponds that are all weather year round, that are not on KGIS, Blue Line Springs, and that you covered up with your construction.
So, just to jump ahead, we have core drill every single one on here. We have not done the preliminary or the detailed analysis, but we have enough information off our core drill from our engineers saying, yeah, that's a farm pond. On 300 acres, you're gonna have a lot of farm ponds that you can fill in, you can alter. There's some ponds on there that we have gaps in here, the lake and stuff that are, cannot fill in.
So those 3 ponds that I'm talking about, the 2 that are under the power cut and the one in depression 17, they're not Blue Line Springs according to your folks.
Just as, you're referring to that map on, I don't know exactly which one's 17.
Yeah, 17's, I'm referring to your depression map.
Yeah, and I'm trying to.
21 depressions.
Where, on the map, is it which one is it up here?
17's on that road that runs north up into the woods. That's one of the ponds. The other 2 are right there in the power cut, roughly where your southern cross.
Is that 17?
Yeah, where they are. Yeah, exactly.
That, yeah, so obviously.
What you just called farm ponds are there.
Yeah, so that is not a farm pond. Obviously, we're staying out of it, that's why we show the hashed line. That's one we know we cannot do anything with. So it has to maintain, stormwater.
So you start filling in ponds, goes back to the stormwater issue, which you're gonna catch through man-made baseboard. So.
Correct.
Did you concede that West Embry would have to be widened in order for this subdivision to go in?
I'm assuming something's going to come back and say something like that. And definitely turn lanes, we've done a 90 lot subdivision in the street, we're putting turn lanes in now, so I'm assuming just common sense is gonna tell me we don't have to put turn lanes in and widen portions of it.
We're still in the planning. We assume that the section in front of BellTown are West Embry all the way up to Clinton Highway.
Oh, again, whatever the traffic center says.
So there's no plans, TDOT's not approved anything, all you currently have is 2 entrances to the north and 2 entrances to the south.
All we have is completely based on the study that we presented.
Have you given any thought to a northern entrance and exit to the area by an easement out through the farmland to the north?
Way up here?
Yes.
Up in Harrison County, no, that hasn't crossed my mind.
Because you were talking about traffic and you got to involve the state now in order to widen West Embry Road.
Correct.
And I don't know that you could buy the easement to build the road out of there, but it would be nice if there were additional options to ease some of the traffic on West Embry.
Do you own that land?
Does he own the land?
Okay, say it again.
Do you own that land?
I wish I did. I wish I had $11 million you spent on that piece of land.
Sounds like you want that.
The timeline, you said 88 years, 88 years, 6 months. Where do you start your construction when the county commission approves the final concept? Do you start with the apartments? Do you start with the 40 acres that you're gonna give the county? Where do you start?
We start with the single family side and the park. We think that the park needs to be open, there's daily moving houses up top, on the north side, I say top, on the north side.
So you're starting south of West Embry.
We will start on this construction wise, building wise, we'll be up here in single family. That's what we do. You'll know, we're not commercial guys, we're not restaurant, our bread and butter is single family. That's what we'll start. But at the same time, we want to get that park open as fast as possible.
But the county's gonna build that park, right? All you're doing is ceding the land to them.
Correct, but obviously we want we want it to succeed because it's attached to our name. But two, we're gonna have to be involved in some form or fashion. But we're gonna let Knox County steer the bus on this. Meaning, what needs to go in that part, they'll tell us.
All right, next question.
My name is Beth Butler Childress, and my family's been here over 100 years, and my grandchildren are now 5th generation Karns students, and I've taught in Karns schools for 30 years. So I definitely have a vested interest. First of all, you started with transparency and that we're going to deal with facts. So I'm going to speak to that in just a second. First of all, I've been texting in the last few minutes with Betsy Henderson, and I have the numbers for Karns Elementary. The enrollment is 1177, almost 1200. The maximum maximum capacity is 1688, so we're not there yet, with a functional capacity of 1433. I totally believe those numbers, but when I retired from there 7 years ago, we were at over 1,300 students. That's less than the functional capacity that I can promise you that was not optimal. It may have been functional, but it wasn't good. So 1177 sounds a little more workable, but from what I understand, every classroom has been taken. There is no extra space. One of the first things you said, Josh, was that y'all are in the community and you're in the schools and that you care. And I want to believe that. But tell me, since your dad, and I went to school with him, he was a really good friend of mine. Since your dad's generation, how many Smiths, Sandersons, or Kershans have gone to Karns schools? And I'm not really going to wait for an answer because I think they're all in private school, and that's great. If you have that option, have no problem with that, but don't present that you love the schools and you're in the schools when you're not.
Yeah, the Grace Baptist in that too.
The other thing, and I did not want to bring this up, but you continue to talk about water being the most important thing and the first thing you deal with, and retention ponds and taking care of all that. My family's farm is on West Emory, next to Copperfield. When Copperfield was being built, and again, we're dealing with facts. This is not an opinion. These are facts. And if any of you all sitting here ever went to the dog trials at my dad's farm, you saw the beautiful pasture. Well, it's no longer just pasture because Rocky Smith called my dad and asked him if he could tile some water over to the pasture. Dad said no. It happened anyway. Now we have a huge pond that takes up a lot of the pasture. You said we wouldn't do that because we'd get sued. Well, you don't always get sued because some people with character and integrity don't believe in suing. They believe that a man is good for his word. And so I don't expect a response on that, but I do want everyone to know that that's what happens with water sometimes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
You probably hate me. I live in a SmithBilt neighborhood. And I've lived in several. And what I was going to tell you is we really don't have a lot of kids in our neighborhoods. 30 to 50 max for 200 homes. If you look at our tax rate, God help us, where each child pays about $5,000 a year to Karns to pay for the new schools, to pay for the new roads. Your roundabout that you need, we want this too. We hear, I'm in Creek Bend Farms. I think they should cut the, level of speed. They should outlaw these outrageously loud cars. But that's neither here nor there. And these neighborhoods, they're not communities. I know everybody in my neighborhood. I've been there since last August. I've had several of the homes. I love all the little kids. We all have front porches and we have rear decks. So we actually are neighbors. And I know a lot of you have elderly parents. This right here would let you put your parent in their own little place, in an apartment or in a condo, so that they can have their dignity, their pride, and yet still be close to living next to their daughter. And as far as cars, what happens in every neighborhood, we all have room for 2 cars in our driveway, 2 in our garage, and once the neighborhood gets taken over and we have our own HOA, we control what goes on. We all hate cars everywhere, higgly-piggly. So one of the first things we establish is no cars out in the road. Now,